Welcome to day 617 of our Web3 journey. I'm Ed Krasenstein here with my twin brother, Brian. And remember, these videos are sponsored by NFT Tech. They're an investor in Deso. So, Brian, yesterday we talked about Kanye West being suspended on Twitter. We said we thought it was a 12-hour ban. It ended up apparently being permanent, or at least semi-permanent, because Kanye is still suspended from Twitter. But what's the latest? What is Elon up to now?
Yeah, so he's just released this really anticipated report on censorship on Twitter prior to him taking over. They've been hyping this report up for quite a while now, and yesterday around 5:30 p.m., a man named Matt Pai made a long thread regarding Twitter's past censorship, particularly of the New York Post story. Of course, this was a story that had information that was supposedly taken from Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son's laptop. The story was published like several days before the election, and then Twitter ended up pushing it down, not allowing it to be shared as much, and I think eventually deleting it. But overall, I don't feel like the report was very bombshellish. I feel is kind of underwhelming. Basically, it showed that both the past White House, Donald Trump's White House, and the Biden campaign had contacted Twitter in 2020 to have specific posts removed, which they thought broke Twitter's terms of service. If you actually go through the posts, the ones that it shows that the Biden campaign requested to be removed, most were actually naked photos of his son along with some women, which obviously shouldn't have been on Twitter. The report basically surmised that Twitter removed content requested by both the right and the left, both Trump and Biden. Of course, Trump was acting with the government at the time. Biden was a private citizen running for election. But the Twitter employees leaned more left, so requests from the left would be acted on more promptly and sometimes more often than requests from the right. But it also showed that the Biden campaign had no involvement in the removal of the Hunter Biden New York Post story, like some people had guessed they did. I think the problem is we don't actually know what some of the other posts were that were removed, but it appears that most of them were actually like naked images, just really highly controversial content that should have been removed from Twitter. I mean, I wouldn't want a child to stumble upon some of this. It's basically pornography. But yeah, I think that I think that there should be a line drawn between how politicians get involved in certain content, but Twitter was making those decisions on their own. They weren't being forced by the government. So you can't say that either Biden or Trump were breaking the First Amendment. But that's
Well,
my
I
opinion.
mean, Biden wasn't even a government official at the time.
Yeah.
And Elon said they were orders by the government, which they weren't. They weren't orders, they were requests. There's a huge difference because the US government can't order a private company to remove free speech. They just can't do that. And even if they did, it wouldn't they wouldn't have to. They don't have to. The First Amendment says that the government can't censor free speech. But on the other hand, Twitter can censor free speech, and they did. But there's nothing illegal or wrong about that. Well, I guess you could say there's something wrong about it if you don't believe they should be doing it, but there's nothing illegal about or anti-First Amendment.
Yeah, well, here's a good example of what the true definition of free speech in the First Amendment is, and that is in 2017, President Donald Trump, he blocked Ed and I from replying to his tweets. So if we wanted to reply or read his tweets, we couldn't because he blocked us.
Well, I
And he
mean, we
also
could if we
blocked,
created another account.
yeah, but with our accounts, we couldn't. And also, I think about a dozen other people had the same issue. And this was a government official saying, you can't read what I'm writing and you can't reply to what I'm writing like every other American can. And what we did is we joined a lawsuit and we sued him. And a federal judge came back and they said that Trump's actions actually violated the First Amendment. It squashed our rights as individual citizens. And he was forced to unblock us. Now, that was a government official blocking speech. Now, if a government official asked Twitter to block speech, but didn't force him to, and Twitter decided to, that would not be squashing free speech according to the First Amendment. But that's just kind of an example of
Well, I think the argument that a lot of people make that don't like what Twitter's doing is that Twitter is a town square. And they're basically, because the First Amendment applies to a town square, like, so, but a town square is a government run public area where anybody can join in, discuss things, hold picketing signs, hold signs protesting whatever they want. Twitter technically isn't a public square because it's a corporation run entity, social media. But I guess there is a blending of, you know, at what point does social media reach the point where it can be considered a town square? And I think that's where people come in and argue that Twitter should be forced to allow free speech. But then if you force a company to allow free speech on their private company's website, then that's the government coming in and saying,
right,
regulating free speech. So you know, it's kind of like a catch-22, I guess you could say.
if Twitter was owned by the government, then you'd have a case.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's pretty much the only real option. You don't have a First Amendment violation with a private company making a decision. Now, it can be morally incorrect. Maybe morally that's not the right thing to do, but legally, there's nothing that's stopping them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, Elon's saying Twitter messed with the elections because they were run by because most of the employees were Democrat. I'm sure most tech employees are Democrat. I'm sure if you survey all the tech employees, they're going to be more Democrats. But at the same time, he's putting this report out there right before the Georgia elections. So so I don't know, like, did Twitter have anything to do with the election? Did they influence any votes? Most likely. Was that illegal? No, absolutely not. Is Elon Musk doing the exact same thing? I think you could argue he's doing the exact same thing right now.
Yeah, and I'm actually, even though I lean left, I don't believe that Twitter should have blocked that New York Post story. I think it was a wrong move. But at the same time, Elon's basically doing the same thing 4 days before a pretty key Senate election in Georgia, where it can really kind of even things out from a political party standpoint, whether Warnock or Herschel Walker wins.
Yeah, and I mean, going back to the New York Post story, I think, you know, it's one of those things that we still don't know the validity of it. We know that, you know, these photos are real of Hunter Biden. We know that some of the content's real, but we don't know if Rudy Giuliani or someone else who touched that computer before it was turned over to the New York Post added anything to it, which is entirely possible. There's no headers on a lot of the emails. There's missing data there. So we don't know if 100% of it is legit. We know definitely a large portion of it is legit, but does that make everything on it completely untouched by those who had possession of it? We don't know. And I think that's why there's so much skepticism about it.
Twitter's argument was that they were blocking the content because they thought that it was hacked material. They thought that it was very likely that it was hacked material. And if they do have a policy, if somebody is posting material that's hacked on their platform, that material can't be posted there. Somebody hacked my computer and started posting private images of me or private information from me, that content cannot show up on Twitter.
And I mean, there's no evidence to say that it was hacked information. So, you know, that's where people could be angry at Twitter. Could it have been hacked information? Absolutely. Could it have been information that was tampered with? Definitely. But we don't know. And I don't know if we'll ever know for sure.
Yeah. So let's
moving on. Moving on to the Deso blockchain. NFTz just in time for the World Cup, for those soccer or football fans out there. Of course, soccer, we call it soccer in America, football everywhere else in the world. NFTz has introduced a fun little soccer game. in their 3D galleries. So if you haven't checked out our 3D galleries on NFTz, you can do so. There you can view NFTs in 3D, whether they be 2D NFTs or 3D NFTs. You can view them by walking around in this gallery, either on mobile, desktop, or virtual reality headset. We've introduced a fun little soccer game where there's a soccer ball and there's an NFT of a soccer player. And if there's two ways you can win. You can win two different NFTs. You can win an NFT of the soccer player simply by walking up to him in any 3D gallery. And there's one link to above this video on Deso, below on YouTube. Walking up to it and giving it hearts. Just click the heart and you can give it hearts and you'll win the soccer player NFT. But if you also go up to the soccer ball and kick it by just tapping the ball, you kick it into the football player, into the soccer player, you'll win the soccer ball NFT. So you have a chance to get two NFTs for free. I believe there's 1,000 of them for each. So first 1,000 people who do it get these NFTs for free. Check it out. It's really a fun little game.
Yeah, and speaking of NFTz, we've also launched the photography section at nftz.me/photos. Just click on, or you can also just click on the photography tab at the top of the site. This is a curated section, but we'd love the community help in submitting some photos that you find on Deso. You can basically tag NFT Van Halen or NFTz and just post a photo or link, whatever. We really only want to show the best of the best. So not all of the photos will be accepted into this gallery, but please send them in and help us out.
Yeah. It's there's a lot of great photographers on Deso. So I'm glad you launched this on NFTz so we can see some of these great photographs. So Deso yesterday had some pretty big issues. A lot of downtime for people who are on Deso. You have a blurry lens there, Brian.
Yeah, it's got a little smudge.
So there were DNS issues, and the DNS issues caused a lot of downtime. According to Lazy Nina, the core team needed to update the DNS name servers for deso.org, and they did it early, hoping that it would all propagate in time for most people to wake up in the morning wherever they are in the world. But it took a lot longer than expected. Normally it takes a couple minutes, but unfortunately, propagation of the DNS took much longer than expected. And for much of yesterday, I'd say probably over 12 hours or so, many people around the world couldn't access Deso, couldn't access Diamond app, or they could access it, but they couldn't utilize all the features. Notifications weren't working, photos weren't showing. Some people couldn't make posts, people couldn't make comments. But I'm happy to say that it is now all working fully, and Natter has confirmed this.
Yeah, Natter also made a post about DAO. What did he say about that?
Yeah, so DAO, as we mentioned yesterday or the day before, I forget, DAO is being renamed, and they had a poll up for all the DAO coin holders to vote on what the new name would be, and the winner is Open Fund. So DAO will soon be renamed as Open Fund. It's going to be a complete rebranding. Natter also said that Deso will be executing the rebrand shortly, followed by the launch of several exciting growth initiatives. And then in a reply to Slava, who asked what happens to current DAOs on DAO, Natter replied, and he said that there's going to be no impact on them. DAO coins will be renamed, so they're no longer going to be called DAO coins. They may be called something like project coins or something like that, I guess. I'm not sure I like the term project coins. I think we can probably come up with a better name, but other than that, everything will pretty much remain the same.
Yeah, and I like the name. I like the new name, Open Fund, and I think that a rebrand is needed, especially given that things are kind of slow on DAO. But moving on, Deso Labs, they announced their winners yesterday in a big clubhouse or a big Discord room. Really exciting to hear about all of these projects, and I just want to congratulate all the projects that participated. But the winners were as follows. Bundle DAO was #1, followed by Circle It, Waverly, Casalytica, and SurfSwap. They all did great jobs. So many great projects. We had to vote. It was very hard for us to vote because there were so many great applications that were submitted. But congrats to everybody that participated, all of the winners and all the sponsors and entire team at Deso Labs, especially Slava and Conchi. They did an amazing job.
Yeah, it was a great show. I'm glad I could attend the award show. I know you did as well. A lot of people were there too. It was fun. It was fun to listen in on. But Ash Deso of the core team made an interesting post this morning, and he said he had a solid conversation with a well-respected crypto Web3 company about a Deso integration, and that is going to be happening in just 2 to 3 weeks. No clue what this company is, who they are, or what they do. But Ash did say the first integration is what I would consider low-hanging fruit. The tone of the conversation is that they are very excited about Deso and want to brainstorm on further integrations. We will keep the conversation going with their team and bring our engineers during the next session. I have no idea, Brian. Any guesses to who this company could be?
I mean, there's so many companies out there. It's really hard to say, but I think this is a good start. And this is exactly what we need. We need a lot of new integrations with already existing platforms and projects out there. This is what's going to bring people under Deso and give Deso added utility for the average user.
Yeah, definitely exciting. So the Whale Shark ETH, his advertising NFT closed yesterday on NFTz. We talked about it. There was a huge bidding war that went on, and in the end, Lewis Eddy ended up winning the NFT for 36.05D. So I think it's about 360 US dollars or so. This NFT gives Lewis Eddy the ability to make a post on Whale Shark ETH's diamond profile. So great advertising. Whale Shark ETH gets a lot of eyes on his post. So I'm willing to say it's probably well worth it.
Maybe we should start auctioning off some posts.
I don't know.
So moving on, Desocial World, of course, they have the Post to Earn, which is sponsored by NFTz. They paid out $52 this week. And I'm just going to name off the top 8 who earned from basically posting the most, getting the most engagement on Desocial World over the last 7 days. And Mr. X was number 1. He won $10, followed by Ackhill369 with $9, Food Curator with $8, Clout Women Unite $7, Stargazer $6, Randier $5, Michelle Lord $4, and Elizabeth Tubbs $3. So congrats to all of them and everybody else that won from this week's Post to Earn.
Yeah, and as many of you know, NFTz.me is the only place where you can view and post live timed Deso NFT auctions. I'll just go to NFTz.me/auctions and you can see a list of all of the auctions ending soon. I just want to highlight a few that are ending in the next 24 hours. Deso Tracks has their Deso Tracks number 5 NFT ending today around 6 p.m. Eastern time. If you haven't checked out Deso Tracks, they mint these music NFTs and they're really, 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 really fun to listen to. Definitely check it out. Very low minimum bid, and they're doing some great things on Deso. And SidXO, relatively new user to Deso, who's been into NFTs well before Deso. He has a really awesome NFT that's on auction that ends, I think, around 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. It's called Heart 19 from his XCOZ Pop Soup collection. So check that one out as well. And there's plenty of other auctions ending as well very soon, so check those out.
Yeah, I want to get to the top NFT bidders over the last 24 hours. Thanks to NFTz. These people bid on the most NFTs on the Deso blockchain in the last day. Hey Yang was number 1, followed by Viper444, QAnon, followed by Skinny, Randier, Monkey Tongue 2, Lewis Eddy, who won the Whale Shark advertising NFT, Zer1, Fields, and Meta Philosopher. And the top diamond creators over the last 24 hours, thanks to our friends at Altonbase for this list. These people received the most diamonds or tips on the Deso blockchain on their posts and replies over the last day. Now and then, Zia Mead, Photographer's Corner, Whale Shark ETH, Clout Women Unite, Natter, Goldberry, Shady Acres, Dennis Carsey, and Rihan Ree.
Yeah, and congratulations. And that's all the news we have for today. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll talk to everyone tomorrow.